Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The US President Joe Biden has pledged to provide Ukraine with 5 new strategic air defense systems to counter relentless Russian attacks in a forceful speech welcoming NATO leaders to Washington, D.C.
And Putin wants nothing less than Ukraine's total subjugation.
In brief but strongly delivered remarks at the opening of the summit, the president declared the military alliance more powerful than ever. As it faced a pivotal moment in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Mr. Biden said the US would partner with Germany, Italy, the Netherlands and Romania to donate Patriot missile batteries and other systems to aid Ukraine amid growing civilian casualties in the conflict. The announcement comes just 2 days after a Russian missile leveled a children's hospital in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv.
Ukraine can and will stop Putin. Especially with our full collective support. And they have our full support.
In other Russian news, a court in Moscow has issued an arrest warrant for the widow of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny on charges of extremism. The charges brought against Yulia Navalny, who lives at an undisclosed location outside of Russia, in absentia are to do with her alleged participation in an extremist society. Navalny was Russia's most significant opposition leader of the past decade. He died in February in an Arctic Circle jail. His widow said he had been tortured, starved, cut off and killed by Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, India's foreign ministry has said Russia has promised an early release of all Indian citizens fighting in its army. The announcement came at the end of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Moscow, during which he raised the issue with President Vladimir Putin. Delhi has been seeking the release of Indians who say they were lured to Russia on the promise of non-combat jobs in the army, but were later forced into active combat in Ukraine. At least 4 Indians have been killed in the fighting. Hospital officials say at least 29 Palestinians have been killed and dozens wounded in an Israeli airstrike on a camp for displaced people outside a school in southern Gaza. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry said the strike had hit next to the gate of Al-Auda school in the town of Abbasan al-Kabira, east of the city of Khan Yunis. The Israeli military said it had used precise munition to target a terrorist from Hamas's military wing, who it said had taken part in the 7th of October attack on Israel. It said it was looking into the report that civilians were harmed adjacent to the school, which houses displaced people from the eastern villages of Khan Yunis. The first Democratic senator has publicly questioned President Joe Biden's election chances after 7 congressmen broke cover and urged the 81-year-old to step aside. Senator Michael Bennet told CNN he expected the president to lose to Donald Trump by a landslide, but stopped short of telling him to end his candidacy. Questions have been raised about Mr. Biden's fitness for office after a stumbling presidential debate performance against Mr. Trump late last month. The president insists he can beat his adversary and continues to hold support among key allies. An eyewitness video recorded from a passing vehicle shows flames and a plume of black smoke rising into the air following a factory fire in the Australian city of Melbourne. The blaze was caused by a chemical explosion, local media reports say. 180 firefighters and 66 vehicles responded to the incident. Here, an aerial view of the smoke across the city. Fire officials say it will take days for the blaze to be brought under control. And a huge Eiffel Tower has appeared in a field, with its creator saying no UFO was involved. Instead, the land artist saying he made it to celebrate the Paris Olympics. The Italian land artist Dario Gambarian created his latest work on a crop field in the Verona countryside, using a tractor and plough covering a 2-acre plot in its entirety. The Olympics starts on the 26th of July in the French capital. And that's for international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.